going to walk you through the Panorama Student Success entering students into the system. I am at the home page of the ANA, or my ANA account. I have bookmarked it. I've got my account ID and my password in here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. A couple of things I want to point out on this home page. You'll want to make sure that you see Decorah Community School District up here in the right, and then also the MTSS tab right here, and then I'm going to go down to the Panorama Student Success. Maybe. And then here we are at our home page. I wanted to just show you what that's going to look like for you for entering students in here. I'm actually going to sign out of mine. I just wanted to show you how to sign into that, and then I'm going to enter in I'm going into the Sandbox account just so that I'm not pulling up individual students with private information. So I'm just pulling up, I didn't want to put that into a recording, so I'm pulling up the Sandbox Panorama, but it's going to show us the exact same type of screen and information. One thing that's different is you won't have as many options up here at the top, but what your plan is to be working with interventions at the student level. So you'll see students up here. I'm just going to hit students, and then for this I'm going to be selecting a school. I'm just going to pick Langer Middle School right now. And then you will see here our at or above in literacy, our at or above benchmark kids right here, and then our below benchmark students that we're going to find down here. These are going to be typically the students that are interventionists, special education, Title I teachers are serving. So typically, just to easily sort those, you can just hit that red box, and you can hit that yellow box as well. And then as you scroll, you'll be able to find your students that you're serving just right down below here. As you can see, these purple flags mean that they have an intervention plan in place. These students have a plan created for them already, and you'll see that in the Carrie Lee or John Klein Bank if teachers have already added in interventions for those students. I'm going to go to a student that does not yet have an intervention entered. So what I'll do is I'm just going to come over to her box right here, and I can just click on her name. And then we see intervention plans here, and what I want to do is I'm going to create a plan for Kathleen. So I just click on this create plan. Our intervention type, we only have one choice right now, which is literacy. Typically, we're going to have mainly tier 2 interventions, but you may have a student that you're working with on a more individualized basis. So if that's the case, you can also hit that tier 3 as well. I'm going to leave it as tier 2. And then basically you're just entering the skills that you're wanting that student to improve on. So I'm just going to enter improve decoding skills. So I just want to put some information as far as what kind of more of just what the skill is that student is going to be working on. As far as intervention strategies, there's a bank in our Decorah Panorama as well. We have a lot of students that are receiving different types of interventions. I was hoping that Fontes and Pinnell was in this one, but it's not, so I'm going to pick fast forward. If you can also add a custom strategy, but if you would let me know if we are missing, a main type of intervention that we need to have added in our bank, if you would let me know, because then I can actually add that into the bank so that that's available moving forward. That would be really helpful. Assign a champion, and that's, if you're entering this information right now, that's most likely you. So I'm just going to pick a name for that. Since we're entering these now at this point and we have the time to do so, we've got the start date here, but if you have students that you previously served as well, you can actually hit this and backlog to whenever you started serving that student. So if you worked with a student, starting September 10th, you can actually go back and backlog to that date so that it's already, so that we're able to see that. So then it's nice for just tracking the duration of time that students have been receiving interventions. And then I'm going to enter the duration that intervention has been taking place. So if I had this student and I was doing this intervention, and let's say I did this with them for 10 weeks, because I am backlogging that, so I'm able to look back and see what I was doing as an intervention for that student. I can put that in there. And then I'll come down here and you can add a schedule. That's up to you. Just basically how many sessions you see them per week, and then number of minutes that you're serving that student. So you can definitely, if you put that information in, if I'm serving them 5 times a week and I'm seeing them for 30 minutes. How will you track progress? And the options that are in this are typically, well, this one just gives us fast CBM reading. I obviously picked the wrong student to do this with, but there are you're going to see some other options in this box as well. There'll be some other fast measures as far as like fast letter sounds. So if you're entering a kindergarten in here that's been receiving intervention, and that's been the progress monitoring method, then that's what you're going to want to enter. Most of our kids, grades 1 to and up, are going to be would fall under the fast CBM reading measure, because that's what we're using for that weekly progress monitoring. So I am going to choose that, and then weekly, because our students who are receiving intervention are typically being progress monitored, are always being progress monitored weekly. And then I can come over here and I'm just going to hit that create button. And then you'll see that here is that plan. It says past completion here because I said that they started receiving that intervention back in September and it was 10 weeks. So I can even click on that. And I can even, if that was completed in that 10 weeks, I can hit complete plan. And it's just simply, that just simply helps to tell us that student received intervention services with me, that with whatever intervention plan that was. So for example, that was like the fast forward intervention. And it's just kind of keeping a log so that as we move forward with that student, any teachers who are serving that student are able to go back in and just see what kind of interventions have already been used with that student and whether or not they were successful. So this is just the today's date that's in this system already. And then, was the goal met? So if I say yes, the goal was met, then I would typically say, okay, then they did meet the our fast goal, and they're not receiving needing to receive progress monitoring anymore. So then I would most likely say, receiving support, or continuing. Maybe I might put something like continuing support in the classroom, or guided reading program in the classroom setting, or something like that. if I switch and say the goal was not met, for example, like if I have a student that um, ended up then after intervention services, if I'm a Title I teacher, or if I am an interventionist and that student ended up actually going on an IEP, then I can also enter that here as far as just saying um, student began receiving IEP services. And then I'm just going to hit save with that. The nice thing is then that special education teacher who began serving that student can then also pick up where that other teacher left off as far as entering when they began serving that student for reading and what kind of intervention was being used with that student. So it's really just like a way to help us log the interventions that students are being exposed to over time. One other thing I did want to show you is when you look here where it says more actions, I don't want to delete that plan. There typically, let's go to a different plan. I'm going to go back once to, actually I'm going to go back to our students so I can show you just so that you're aware. I'm going to go back to some of our students who are currently falling below grade level. So if I go to Donald Bean, actually let's go to somebody that already has a plan created. Let's go to Herb. Well, typically what I was trying to show you with the action button right here, which I'm sorry, it's not coming up for some students that I'm not able to enter that in, but you are able to edit that plan under the more action button right here. So that will give you the option to be able to do that. So if you need to make edits to the plan that you just entered, you're able to do that as well. If you are wanting to create more than one student in an intervention, like an intervention group, if you have more than one student receiving the same intervention, you can also, once you start clicking on these boxes, you'll see right up here where it says create group intervention plan. So you actually can do that as well. I can click, if I have these students that I'm serving, I can click all 3 of them and create an intervention plan for the 3 of those students and enter that same information in for those students. So, that if you have a group of students that you started with, especially at the same time for that start date, and are receiving the same intervention type, or not intervention type, intervention strategy, then you are able to quickly enter that information for a group of students too. So that's pretty handy in being available for you as well. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out, and you'll see those students that I checked the box on. You do have to check those boxes in order for that to come up. Otherwise, it's not up here. So you have to check that box, and then you'll see where that option comes up. So that's kind of a quick overview of entering students into this system. I hope this is helpful. If you have additional questions, just contact me via email, and I can answer those, or we can walk through that together. So thanks a lot, all.